I used to be stingy with love. Hold on to it so tight, like a baby squeezing its way out of the womb, creating birthing pains for waiting to
So, welcome to the 7 Exits Power of Departure event. This event is an invitation to be shared, a part of sharing a vision of personal transformation.
I think you told me a bunch of times. Sometimes you gotta just walk out of someone else's story and finally step into your own.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for your presence. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I can't imagine that most of you, at least, don't have some better place where you could be if you weren't here, but you chose to spend that time here. So thank you. I appreciate you more than I can ever really express. So let me begin with a confession that this platform, this stage, was never part of the plan. Not for a poor child growing up in Philadelphia who was misdiagnosed as mildly retarded at the age of 7 following a seizure. A girl who was taught to go along to get along. A girl who lived in silence for most of her life. No, this platform was never part of the plan. The stage wasn't part of the plan, but this certainly is not the end of my departures. So with that, let me welcome you to the Power of Departure today. Thank you for meeting me here. This stage is part of the evolution of the revolution. Not a revolution of violence and dissent, but one of self-forgiveness, grace, and discipline. Discipline to leave behind what no longer serves me. So welcome again, and I want to take a minute. I'm going to set my clock to, I give you 70 seconds just to welcome each other here, because you've chosen this space today. And so I'm going to give you 60, 70 seconds to turn around to someone and ask them why they came and what they want to get out of this today. And let's warm up this room. Centering yourself is the only way to keep your cup full so that you can properly serve others from your overflow. But like me, you probably have been taught to put others first, raise your hand. That love means sacrifice, no matter what, raise your hand. That staying silent is strength, raise your hand. That anger is shameful. That silence is noble. And that forgiveness is required and boundaries mean betrayal. Raise your hand. You may have been taught that speaking your truth is disrespectful. That wanting more makes you ungrateful. And that if you walk away from something, even if it's crushing you, you're the problem. We were taught to endure rather than to evaluate. To make it work instead of asking, is this working for us? We were taught that loyalty is everything, even if it leaves us with nothing. And over time, that kind of teaching becomes internalized. It buries our instincts. It makes us question our own knowing. And that is why the act of departure is so radical, because it says, I no longer need permission to leave what hurts. I wanted to affirm that you're not weak for walking away. You're not selfish for wanting peace. You're not broken because you're tired. You're human, and wholeness is still available. Wholeness that allows you to speak your truth, even if your voice quakes a little. Wholeness that values process over perfection, peace over promises, and alignment over approval. The more you're willing to see yourself clearly, the more love you'll have to give, not only to others, but to the parts of yourself that you were taught to reject. So raise your hand if you're ready to claim back some of those parts of you. Last year, obtained my coaching license. One of the things that I did to obtain that was to pursue hypnosis coaching. I used to do a lot of visualization in my practice, and one of the things I wanted to do was understand the difference between visualization and hypnosis. One of the things that I love about hypnosis is that it relies on the genius of your subconscious. And so I use that a lot in my practice. And so today we're going to practice the genius of our subconscious. So I want you to imagine a number from 1 to 7, only one number. Imagine that number. And when I call out that number, I just want you to stand and we can see how we measure on those numbers. And here's what we're looking for. So we're gonna, in a minute, go over the 7 exits. And so whatever number you imagine, assume that it's the genius of your subconscious, perhaps steering you to pay attention to this particular exit. And not that it's one exit that you need. Trust me when I say we need all 7. We are forever working on all 7. But they don't all have the same meaning in all of our lives. And so we just want to practice using our subconscious as we use these departures. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to think of that number. You don't have to think too long. Just use the genius of your subconscious. And then I'm going to ask you to stand if your number is 1, if your number is 2, if your number is 3. That way we don't cheat. We don't cheat off our neighbor, right? It's the genius of your subconscious, not like when you were in college and you use the genius of your neighbor's subconscious. I'll give you a second to ask the genius of your subconscious to present to you this number. Everybody have their number, 1 to 7? All right, if your number is 1, stand up. If your number is 2, stand up. All right, you can sit down. Thank you. If your number is 3, stand up. Thank you. If your number is 4, stand up. If your number is 5, stand up. And if your number is 6, stand up. Thank you. And if your number is 7, stand up. All right. So we have no 1s, but the rest of us are spread out. All right. This is interesting. So one of the things that's important is that we allow compassion in any personal growth that we do. And it's one of the most challenging things when people are coming and they're grappling with issues that are uncomfortable. It's difficult to sit in, because you're here because you're noticing some discomfort. And sometimes it's difficult to sit in that discomfort because you want to be somewhere else. It is in this discomfort and the acceptance with compassion of the discomfort that growth actually happens. Because the mind is a funny thing in that it will protect you even from yourself. We don't grow from self-criticism, because when your mind starts attacking itself with self-criticism, what happens is that you begin to not see the real issues or the real thing. You begin maybe blaming others or not seeing where the real issues are, because your mind is trying to protect you. So if you're gonna take the information and use it to beat up on yourself, the mind will stop giving you the information. All right? And so we don't have an opportunity to grow. If we can intake the information with compassion and grace and say, look at what's happening here, then we get to grow from it in love. Because there's nothing ever wrong with us that can prevent us from being lovable. We're all lovable, just like we are. All right? So as we go through these, just remember that. So the first is the hyperego, and these X's are all interconnected. Okay, but again, most of us could probably look and say, oh yeah, but this is the one that I'm really struggling with. So we'll see. We'll see how the horoscope did for us today. What a genius of our subconscious. All right, so in hyperego, if someone is stuck here, this is your primary issue, then you struggle feeling unseen or unworthy unless you're either performing or achieving or controlling something. And so your ego is always in overtime trying to justify where you are. Right, so that you can be lovable. Relationships can often feel transactional, or self-worth is tied to what you can prove rather than who you are. So that's hyperego. Number 2 is silence and secrecy. Getting stuck here looks like carrying unspoken truths that weigh heavily, either about identity or past trauma or some other deep feeling that you may be having. The silence breeds shame, isolation, and internal conflict. You may feel as if you don't fully belong anywhere because part of the authentic self is always hidden. So if you are hiding part of yourself, then it's impossible to feel unconditional love because you never show anybody the conditions. So for emotional dependence, a person at this exit often feels unable to regulate emotions without external reassurance, approval, or validation. They may cling to partners, institutions, or belief systems, fearing that these things will just collapse without them. Right? Their sense of stability is fragile and dependent on others rather than on their own inner resources. Stagnant relationships, when stuck here, and this is number 4. Sorry, I stopped the numbers. So viewer number 4. When stuck here, someone may remain in friendships, partnerships, or social circles that no longer nourish growth. The relationship may feel obligatory or draining or just repetitive. They fear that leaving or even redefining a relationship will mean loneliness and isolation, so they trade vitality for familiarity. 5 is complacency. Here, the struggle is with settling into routines that feel safe and uninspiring. They avoid risk, challenges, or changes that can open doors to fulfillment. Growth feels threatening, so they stay in the comfort zones that quietly erode passion, progress, and confidence. 6 is indoctrination. If someone's stuck here, they may unconsciously live out beliefs and rules inherited from family, culture, or institutions without questioning them. Their choices reflect their conditioning rather than their personal values. They reject curiosity and critical thought to remain accepted. And 7, being stuck here often shows up as chasing society's version of success or passion while ignoring deeper alignment. They may feel restless, like life is busy but not meaningful. Purpose seems distant, confusing, and they struggle to create space for what genuinely lights them up. Those are the 7 exits. Anybody feel like they nailed it?
I nailed it.
Yeah. The genius of your subconscious. So if you nailed it and you're like, yeah, then you can do that, right? The genius of your subconscious is working for you. So remember that the exits are all an invitation to connect to your authentic self. And so you get to leave behind these things that no longer serve you. They're not meant to be tools to beat yourself up with, or excuses to withdraw from relationships or not love yourself. They're not evidence that you don't deserve something in life. They're just things for you to look at to say, okay, that's the nail that was in my tire, and why it keeps going click, click, click. You don't throw the whole car out because you get a flat tire, right? You get it repaired. And so that's what the 7 exits are, showing us where we could use some repair. Okay. All right, so one more activity. This quiz literally takes like 5 minutes.
May still have it.
And so while you're doing that, I read some of the cards and things that people have already given up to get this far. I'm not going to read the names. I'm just going to read out some of the things that people have already given up to be here, because we already have within us what we need. But I won't get to read all of them. Sometimes it helps if we know we're not alone. So. All right. Stop running errands and clean to be here. Left work behind. Left behind their comfort zone and stepped into a new realm of self-exploration. Left behind fear and anxiety. Procrastination. Somebody left a funeral to be here. Life is more important than death. Past relationships, working full time, fear, doubt, exited unforgiveness to be here. All right, well done. Thank you for that. You get to keep those. No one needs to know what you are exiting. And so here's one way to look at your score. Just a reminder that the whole idea is to invite you into a space of self-awareness, a space of clarity, so that you can do the work. Oftentimes we hear people talk about paying attention and we're like, to what? What am I supposed to be paying attention to? Well, here are some of the things that you get to pay attention to. Here's a little bit of the clarity that can lead you to the next phase. Upgrade your life, where you want to be. Help clean some things out. Right? So it's not what you have to do. It's not even what you should do. It's just what you're invited to do in the right space and the right time. Are people enjoying themselves?
Yeah.
Okay? This is a good way to be in the sunshine, right? All right, thanks for your patience. Okay, so we have one more activity, and I would be so remiss if I did not leave you all with a piece of poetry. So trust me, that is coming. And then we'll also have Q&A. Let's do the poem first. How about that? Let's do the poem before the activity. Are you looking for a poem first? It's called Stingy. So, share it with me. I used to be stingy with love. Hold on to it so tight, like a baby squeezing its way out of the womb, creating birthing pains for the one waiting to receive me. I arrived at love with helplessness, begging to be cared for, with the speechless expression of my needs that made me greedy. Feed me was my constant demand while I had been eating out of my hand. I was stingy. My love was never blind, it was paranoid, conceived by fear, obscured by a big brain, and wrapped in beauty, like the rose bush with hidden thorns. My love would bloom only in the sunniest of places. Look with appreciation, but it's best if you don't try to touch, because if you do, don't blame me for those scratches or the pricks. I never meant to be yours. I was stingy. So my love could not conquer all because it was made up of all that had conquered me. The skeletons in my closet and the demons in my head. I'd been harmed by what men did and hurt by what women said that left confusion and a contusion on that thin line between love and hate. Betrayal was what my heart learned to anticipate. So I protected my heart in a closed fist, ready to defend while I pretend I would let you in while being stingy with my love. So I developed a tiny hole in my heart, maybe to relieve the pressure that built up from living without anyone that I would trust. And on my emotional deathbed, I had to learn to trust me, love me, hold space for me to listen to the sound of my voice instead of the terror in my mind. My heart could not be free as long as I kept it confined. So I stopped being stingy and I became love. Instead of assigning myself to a corner of the world, I made peace with my scared little girl. See, I could love everybody and everything once I loved all of me. So I loved that anxious little girl who hated her teens and the sassy one addicted to caffeine. Troubled me would cut her hair off to avoid cutting her wrists. Transformational me now wears her locks tight instead of her fists. I love the Ivy League graduate with a master's at 22 and a spouse with no regrets to saying I do. I love the daughter whose daddy missed the first 8 years of her life, and a woman in me who carries sorrow for the matriarch strife. I love the black belt who disciplined her mind by disciplining her body so that the psychologist could heal the scars beneath the skin. I love the failure in me who keeps trying again and again. I love all of me because there is nothing to protect. Fear is the only enemy I need to reject. So I am no longer stingy with love. I give it generously because I know every time I show you love, I am showing it to me. So with that being said, we'll move on to our next activity where we get to show each other love. I don't know your story, but I know you carry strength and I see your courage today. Feel free to look at the board if you need to.
And then we say the other part down.
All right, and partner B replies, through the power of departure, and I see yours. Whatever you've walked through, you're standing in your power now.
Through the power of departure, as I see yours. Whatever you walked through, you're standing in your power now. Departure, and I see yours. You're standing in your power.
Yeah, it'd be so much easier.
It's rude to like say it.
All right, ready to do the change again? All right, one person shifts. Yep. And then, hey, look at that. Look at
You got to move it off.
Ready? Through the power of departure, I don't know what you're leaving behind, but I believe in who you're becoming. Okay. Partner B replies, through the power of departure, you are not who they said you had to be. Your exit is valid. Through the power of departure, you are not who they said you had to be. Your exit is valid.
I got it wrong.
And so the rest of the time that we have, then I would like to entertain questions and answers.
How do you resist, or how do I resist the urge to look at exiting as leaving something behind?
If I leave something behind, like that may be a difficult concept for my brain to accept, particularly, for example, if I have abandonment issues. Like that alone doesn't sound good to me. Is that what you're saying? Right? Or like...
Well, it seems like the 7 things you have, I believe that in your book, those are good things to leave behind.
Right.
But it's still part of who I was. It's still part of my past. So, I'm getting ready to make a major life shift.
Right.
To me, it's an exit
Right.
from this space that I've lived in all my life.
Right.
And that feels unsettling because it's like leaving something behind.
Gotcha. Okay.
Leaving
Gotcha.
people behind.
Right. Gotcha. So compassion and grace is super important for personal growth. Like allowing yourself to grieve. I mean, because when we leave things behind, there's a grieving process that really should take place. Whether it's relationships, a job, a city, there's a grieving process when we leave things behind. And that has to be okay. Like it has to be okay. Like we fantasize about our internal lives like we do about that car or house that we want. It's shiny and it's gonna be brand new and it's gonna make us happy all the time, as opposed to this is something that requires maintenance of who I am. It's something that sometimes requires sacrifice of who I am, and it doesn't always have to feel good. That's really important. When we release the notion that being healthy means we feel good all the time, instead of feeling aligned, making choices from a position of alignment, not something that makes you feel good.
This is so dope. I don't even know. But I was taking notes earlier, and you said something about identifying your inner resources and your personal values. Can you speak to that a little more?
Sometimes it's really difficult and challenging to figure out what way you really want to be. And so that's an important piece. Again, every relationship, there's some sacrifice in it. Again, and that's okay. It's okay until it no longer aligns with who you want to be. That's why I like the word alignment. And even in coming to terms with you trying to be in alignment with yourself, giving yourself grace and time to figure out what that was. And one of the greatest things I've learned in life is how much room there is for error. Thank God. Like, we live as if things have to be perfect. In truth, if I had to guess, probably only 20% of stuff need to be perfect. The rest is just messy.
Yes.
We live as if 80% has to be perfect, and we're constantly trying to navigate in that 20% space. But really, life is really messy and it's very forgiving. Trust me. We can recover from a lot of mistakes. And when you embrace the idea that you could be wrong, that means that I'm also willing to correct myself. If I'm willing to say, yeah, I could be wrong about that, then I'm willing to correct myself. But if I'm so busy trying to prove that I'm right, or I fit, or this could work, then we never really get to our authentic self. So I often, with my clients now, start from the point that you're perfect. And perfect does not mean that you shouldn't change. I think my iPhone is perfect, but I'm darn them to sell me another one next year. What more can be on this phone? Right? They're like, no, there's more, right? So I'm like the iPhone, I'm perfect, but there's more, right? New and improved. And so if we just accept that we're perfect like we are, then we allow ourselves to grow out of a sense of love and care, not out of a sense of fear.
Look at that. This is what I.
It says my glass is full. That's great.
So when you were speaking about the glass being full, and what you give out to people should be the overflow. That's how I live my life.
Right. I love that. Here's the thing about overflow, and it's not necessarily intuitive. When you serve from overflow, everybody's happy. This whole thing about being self-centered, where people feel like you have to sacrifice until you're uncomfortable, there's a difference in sacrifice and discomfort. My sacrifices do not make me uncomfortable. They're not the same thing. And so when I pour into me, then I have enough that everybody else who gets fed from that overflow is going to be happy. When I make me number one, I can make everybody else feel like they're number one. Because what they receive in my joy is so much better, trust me, than what they receive from my obligation self. But it's a process that you trust, that you have to trust. Like we say, you know, we want everybody to love us unconditionally, but we never give them the conditions. You can never feel unconditional love if you are constantly trying to fit in. You haven't put the conditions on the table. The condition is that I'm not gonna cook dinner every night. The condition is I'm not gonna watch football. The condition is I'm not paying every time we go out. The condition is I'm not gonna invite you everywhere I go. The condition, what is the condition for people to be in your life and you to be the center? You won't ever feel unconditional love unless you give people the conditions.
Well, I just want to say that I really enjoyed doing the activities, homework that you have for us.
So how do you know when to let things go, leave things? It's a good growth experience. Am I making sense?
I think so. Yeah, when do you leave? Like, when?
Yeah.
Do you just leave at the first moment, or do you wait a while? How do you know when it's not gonna work? And so, again, I like the word alignment. So what in this relationship is aligning with me and what isn't? And leaving is not all or nothing. So sometimes you test the water. So if something is not aligning with you, it's important to do something. I'll say that. If something doesn't align with your value, if you're shrinking to be in that relationship, that's a sign. If you're lying to yourself or to other people, if you're hiding something, if you don't feel emotionally safe there, those are all signs. Leaving isn't necessarily a physical leave. Leaving means I'm only gonna talk to you once a week instead of every day. That's an exit, right? And then you see if that works, see if that gets you back in alignment. Leaving means I'm not gonna be with you, or I'm not gonna make plans with you, because every time you make plans with me, you cancel. So I'll still see you when it's convenient, but I'm not gonna hold space for you to cancel on me. So there are a lot of ways to exit. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy your afternoon.